upcoming situation with oil prices, Wall Street's betting on over $100 a barrel oil. That could really come into fruition, especially if there's a conflict with Russia. They withhold some oil, and then there's less oil on the market. Plus, numbnuts cutting the Keystone pipeline and energy independence. That's going to be on his ass too. I mean, gas could go to $5 a gallon.
Yeah, it's all going to come back to him. And now the media is not covering for him anymore. And I actually find it fascinating to see the different groups of media and how they're reacting because the networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, they're in the middle of a divorce with him. They've had it with him. They're like, they're still talking to him, and to Harris as well, but they're not holding back anymore. On the other hand, you've still got CNN and MSNBC. They're the boyfriend and girlfriend. They're not giving up on the relationship yet.
CNN a little bit, and I'm sorry for our listeners. I'm sorry, Dr. Lockman. Van Jones just came back to me. He basically called the press conference, paraphrasing, a train wreck. He said He was incoherent, so on and so forth. So you even see, you see fractures. Even MSNBC is, for nutcases. Okay, they're nuts. La la land. CNN, not great, but it's not what it was. It wasn't in stone. Their support. There's fissions, and you even had the guy King talking about how the political analysts for CNN saying how things are not going well. So is it great? No, but CNN's starting to
they're
starting
to
the relationship.
see the light. And it is actually amazing, again, watching these, when you watch the different reactions. And the ones I find absolutely hysterical have been the folks on NBC as they're interviewing Kamala Harris, because you see them rolling their eyes at her comments. They finally said during the campaign, you and I discussed, well, how long is it going to be until they stop covering for them? I think we're at that point now. And it's completely self-inflicted, because I honestly believe the media would still be in Biden's corner, even as bad as he's doing, if he had answered their questions more often, if he had had more of these press conferences. But they got angry at him for not answering questions, so now all bets are off.
Well, I hope he does a lot more press conferences, because I really need to start using my popcorn machine more, because nothing get some nice hot buttered popcorn, pop open a beer. It is must-see TV. It is fantastic. And I guess the last thing about it, if you have any final comments on the press conference, that's obviously go for it. But I also found it amazing that he even lied about something he only said a week ago, about if you're in the camp of George Wallace.
Yep. Yeah, he was trying to bet. He honestly believes that everything that's going on is just a communication problem, because the American public doesn't understand what he's doing. And
yes, they do. That's the problem.
They do understand. And the thing is,
and that's the problem.
This is not the first time he's done this, because he did the same thing as vice president with Obamacare. He kept saying, well, people just don't understand how good it is. People don't understand the benefits. We have to do more to tell them the benefits. Really? How long have we been stuck with Obamacare? People lost their doctors. If you remember, that was the big Obamacare lie. If you like your doctor, you can get
rates
turns
went
out.
Up.
No, rates skyrocketed.
That's what I'm saying.
Nothing good came out of Obamacare. Now we're seeing the same thing with his energy policy, with foreign policy, and between his defense of the withdrawal from Afghanistan and the comments last night about minor incursions into Ukraine, you really understand what Robert Gates was talking about when he said that Joe Biden has been wrong on every foreign policy decision for the last 50 years.
Yes, let's face it, he was never a Mensa candidate. I don't care when he was 50. Now that he's approaching 80, it's a train wreck. And in talking about foreign, he's wrong on everything. He actually is touting the fact I don't know if he believes it or not, that Build Back Better, a $2 trillion or whatever fiasco, is going to help the inflation situation. I mean, did he ever take first year economics at a community college?
No, he keeps quoting. He said, 17 Nobel winning
Yeah, okay.
economists signed this letter saying it would help. And they did. I've read the letter. I've also looked at who the economists are. The lead economist in this group of 17 is Janet Yellen's husband.
Oh boy.
The other economists are his cronies. So basically, this is Janet Yellen's husband and his buddies trying to come to the rescue of his wife's boss.
Yes, I can completely believe that. I also, in the end, for this press conference, we both definitely the big takeaway. It could have cost him 5 points. And you're at 33, 5 points is an awful lot.
It's very possible. I am actually looking forward to seeing the next batch of polls that are taken post press conference because I want to see the results.
Well, actually, speaking of polls, Politico, certainly not a conservative leaning organization. They polled, I don't know the number, but they had a statistically significant poll. 37% of registered voters gave Mr. Biden an F for his first year. Half fell into the D to C minus category, and a overwhelming majority, like over 70% of Democrats do not want him to run. Pretty successful first year. I mean, you really have to work at that to get the kind of numbers he has.
No. The poll came out. Only 28% of Americans want him to run for a second term. Now, you can't get to that low a point without a significant number of Democrats saying, no, we don't want him running again.
Exactly. It's going to be interesting to see. I think sometimes you have to go through a little pain to come out the other side. If Trump gets out of the way, and that's for another discussion, Biden and his liberal whack job squad intifada agenda could be the best gift. Like Jimmy Carter was the gift that kept on giving for the Republicans, put them in a power position for over 20 or almost 20 years. This could actually rival that. What are your thoughts?
It's very possible. And you're seeing such a split in the Democratic Party that I honestly only see one of two ways that they can hold the White House in 2024. And those two candidates are literally Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema.
Yes, that Bernie Sanders wants to one of the people in the world besides Soros that I despise. There's very few people I despise more. In fact, I read an article about Bernie that he boycotted the Israeli lobby, the Israel-American lobby, because he said Israel was racist. A real nice guy, but yeah, he wants to primary those two. He's been a very destructive force for America and in particular the Democratic Party. Your thoughts?
I am actually amazed at the response of the Democratic Party to Bernie Sanders because they all seem to be missing one key element. Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat. He is an independent socialist. He only switches his party to Democrat when he wants to run for president. And then he switches back to independent socialist. So why is the party kowtowing to him? Yes, he caucuses with them, but he is not one of them. Meanwhile, Manchin and Sinema are lifelong. Well, I don't know about lifelong, but they are long-term
Manchin is
Democrats.
a lifelong.
Well,
His father was, yeah.
Manchin is actually third generation
Yes.
Democrat. I don't know about Sinema, but I'm pretty sure she's been a lifelong Democrat. And these are the people who actually represent more of the party than the progressives do.
But that's my point about the damage Sanders has done. He opened the door for the squad. He opened the door for the Green New Deal. Very destructive for America and maybe the death nail, short term, not forever, for the Democratic Party until they have a renaissance, which they will have eventually.
The Democrats need to overhaul the party. And this is not something that's new. It happens to both parties periodically. Where, we saw it with the Republican Party, with the Tea Party, and they needed to come back to the center, and then Trump pulled them in different directions. Both parties need to start standing up to the extremists in their parties.
And I do think that Sinema and Manchin are very rare nowadays, used to be more common back in the day, are profiles in courage. You know the kind of shit both of them is taking me, the hatred, the personal attacks. I mean, I believe they were courageous, unlike our own senators Murphy and Blumenthal.
They are absolutely courageous, and they are being rewarded for it. If you've seen local polls for them in their home states, Manchin has a 69% approval rating. Sinema, I think, is somewhere around 55 to 60, but both of them have very high approval ratings because they are doing what their constituents want, not what the party wants.
But how come the Democrats fail to see that? Your point is well-founded, Dr. Lotkin, but isn't that the way out for them? Sinema, Manchin, high approval ratings because they're standing up for what mainstream Democrats are, but all these others are going down the rat hole with the squad. And
it is the way out of it, but this is something, and again, it's endemic in both parties. Both congressmen and senators tend to forget that they are there to stand up for their constituents, not for Nancy Pelosi, not for the squad, not for opposing parties, and not for the president. They are there for the people that voted them into office. And so many of them on both sides of the aisle have forgotten about this. Manchin and Sinema are doing what they were elected to do. And unfortunately, in both parties, they are the minority.
100% agree. Just real quick, two last issues. All roads lead to Rome. This also leads to our esteemed President Biden. Again, it's gotten more mileage, a lot more talk about Hillary running again. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, if Hillary wants to lose a third time, that's her decision. I found it absolutely hysterical. CNN.com posted an editorial talking about how excited everybody was that Hillary was coming back. Nobody is excited about Hillary coming back, although I kind of hope she does throw her hat into the ring again, because I want her to have to answer questions about Jeffrey Epstein. I want her to have to answer questions about the Steele dossier. I want her to have to answer questions about Harvey Weinstein. She's
Will
not
she be
going.
asked those questions? Is the key.
Well, I mean, she can avoid the outlets that will ask them.